Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Looks like there might not be too many folks here yet, but that's all right. I think we've got one person here. I'm sure it'll be quite a few more here in a second, but whoever you are, hello. Feel free to say howdy to me. I'll go ahead and introduce myself to the one person here. My name is Dr. Matt Dorsey. I am the CHOQ Chief Scientific Officer, as you likely know, because you're probably a regular. Just arranging my CHOQ bottles over here, so I've got them for immediate access. Yes, I'm also known as the CHOQTOR. How is everybody doing? By everybody, I mean the one individual who's watching. Oh, now we're at 0. Oh, hey, what's up? We're back up to 1. Hello, Sam. How are you doing? How goes it, sir? How is your Thursday? Had to double check and make sure it was Thursday. Yeah, it's been, Sam, I'm wondering, have you felt, are you somebody who detects, changes in the energy, in the world? Does it seem like something shifted recently, or is it just me? Does something seem different in the last week? Like there's some sort of change afoot? I don't know. Perhaps it's just me. I'm not sure. Glad to hear you're doing well, Sam. You got your Action 2.0. This guy right here. That is fantastic. I hope you're stoked about action. Terrific Thursday, said Cecily. Hello, Cecily. How are you doing? Yeah, you know what? I feel like getting wild here. I feel like doing our first prize giveaway right now, just to reward you guys for showing up early. Yeah, so Sam says, I can feel an odd shift. Something feels off. Yeah, Sam. Okay, so we're on the same page. Yeah. Yes, and I'll tell you about action here in just a second. But you know what? Because there's only 3 people here, let's give you guys some good odds. The timer has already started. Get your number in, your 2-digit number, and let's do this. Yeah. We'll see how many folks show up in the next 48 seconds. That's right. We're already giving away prize number 1 just as a way of rewarding you guys for showing up early. That's right. Yeah, okay, so Cecily, you feel the same way. There's some kind of shift going on, right? There's something that feels lighter to you. Interesting. It almost felt a little heavier to me, but, we're all going to process things differently. But, yeah, it certainly does seem like something is different. It's been in like the last, I feel like, maybe just since Sunday, I feel like, yeah, maybe toward the end of the weekend, like something did shift. Yeah. All right. And that is time. So let's see who won prize number 1. Oh, 3 was our number, which is actually my lucky number, which means it's going to be our lowest number, which is Sam. Sam, that's cool. Well, it makes sense because, I'm sorry. No, I'm so sorry. Cecily, you guessed 11. Cecily, I missed you again because your name is so long. Sorry about that, Sam. I missed Cecily because, Cecily, your name is so long. When I'm scanning down the list, I can't actually see your number, and so I tend to overlook it. Sorry about that, Sam. My apologies. Cecily, you were the winner with number 11. Wait, no, hold on. Wait, hold on. Oh, okay, never mind. No, Sam, you are the winner. Cecily, the number 11 is in your name. Okay, I'm super confused. Sorry. Okay, Sam, you are the winner. Super confusing. Yeah, Cecily, your name is really throwing me off because your name has 11 in it. So yes, Sam, you are indeed the winner. Cecily's guess was 44. So there you go. So Sam, you won prize number 1. You know the drill. I know you're a regular, so I don't even have to tell you what to do. And you know what? I love the fact that you won, Sam, because you were the first person here, and my goal was to reward people for showing up early, and nobody showed up earlier than you. You were the OG, the first person here, so that's legit. Yeah. So yeah, man. But yeah, there has been a bit of a shift here. Yes, Glow 120. So Glow 120, just FYI, I've been getting in the habit of doing the first prize giveaway right off the bat to reward people for showing up early. So just know that that is a thing. That is a thing. What's up, Muhammad? How are you doing? Hello. Cecily says, I'm a Life Path 11. Oh, cool. Cecily, what's up with Life Path 11? Life path 11. Let's just look that up. I'm curious what that means. You are the wizard. Oh, cool. Okay. I forgot what I am, my life path. I'll have to think about that one for a second. I could do the math here. I think I might be at 8 or something. Yeah, the meaning of master numbers. Let's see. The wounded healer, master number 11. Rocky start to life. Okay. It's like you find people who are often unnaturally drawn to you. Simply being in the presence of this master number is soothing, upgrading experience for others. So at times you probably feel like a magnet for those in need. Oh, well, I kind of resonate with that as well. Interesting. Okay, cool. Very cool. Who else is here? Jackson and Grace. I'm not sure if I've seen y'all before, so if you're new, welcome. Or if you have been here before, welcome back. Who else we got talking here? Talk about BPA and plastic. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. BPA and plastic. Well, in general, for detoxification, glutathione is always the number one thing. If you can find some NAC still on the market somewhere, obviously all of our NAC is gone. You can find some NAC somewhere. NAC, you want to take that on a regular basis because it is a cheap and effective way to boost glutathione synthesis in your body. And glutathione is the name of the game when it comes to detoxing all this different stuff, including BPA, all this stuff, right? So no matter what kind of chemical you're trying to get rid of, you need glutathione to do that. There are many different things that boost glutathione other than NAC, which is the concept behind Apex glutathione, of course, right? And, yes, this is not out right now, but the new one will be out in a month or two. And so some of the things that are in Apex that also help you boost glutathione, vitamin B2, vitamin B6, folate, B12, selenium, molybdenum, R-lipoic acid or alpha-lipoic acid, reishi, bacopa, jagulan, those all work on the glutathione system. And in fact, you know what? I ate some nasty pizza last night, and I've been feeling weird all day. I'm going to take some Apex right now. I went to this place. It was cool. It was like an arcade type place. And I don't do gluten or dairy at all. And they had a gluten-free, dairy-free pizza. So I decided to try a gluten-free, dairy-free pizza last night. I still felt horrible after I ate it. There was probably all sorts of weird oils. They probably used Daiya cheese. I usually am pickier than that, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. Having fun. It was my friend's birthday party. Bad idea. I immediately felt horrible. I basically feel like hungover from food today. Like almost as bad as if I had gotten drunk without actually getting drunk because I just had gross food. Like my joints have been kind of feeling weird. Like, man, yeah, yikes. Anyhow, been having to really just like compensate all day with like extra celery juice and extra chalk to feel normal after eating that nasty pizza. But yes, to answer your question, Muhammad, about BPA, it's all about the glutathione. And then on top of that, of course, your basic detox stuff, make sure you are very hydrated. Dehydration is the enemy of detox. You need hydration to remove toxins, right? Through both the urine and the stools, because you need adequate water intake for bowel movements. And then obviously lots of fiber. If you eat a fiber deficient diet, you're cheating yourself out of detoxification. By some accounts, also a high fat diet definitely impairs detox. One of the things I talked about in my Dark Side of Keto presentation was actually how there's research on how the ketogenic diet actually depletes glutathione. So yes, in fact, I'm always yammering about it, but since I'm here, let's go ahead and plug that one again as we're always doing. Here's a link to the Dark Side of Keto if you're interested. And somewhere toward the end of this very long presentation, I do talk about the research showing that ketogenic diets do deplete glutathione. So a high-fat diet like ketogenic will reduce your ability to detoxify these chemicals, most likely. So that is something to definitely take into account. Okay, what else we got here? How do we find out those number meanings you just spoke on? Oh, Sam, yeah. Cecily was just talking about the life path stuff. So it's just like life path numbers. I'm not super familiar with it, but I just was looking it up for a split second. So just Google life path. Kenny says Europe has NAC, and in Norway. Oh, Kenny, you're from Norway. Very cool. Awesome. Always cool to have talk to people, all over the world here, have an international audience. So it's still legal in Norway. That's awesome. Kenny says pizza tastes good, but it's awful for the body. It's true. I did a while back make for my girlfriend at the time. I had made some really awesome, like gluten-free, vegan, homemade pizzas that had like almond crust and really high quality ingredients. And I have to say, that's the only time when I've eaten anything called pizza when I felt remotely good afterwards. If you are really careful with the ingredients and you like get a really clean, gluten-free crust, you can make some pretty legit pizzas. And what's funny is a long time ago, when I was first getting my start, before I worked in the vitamins department at Whole Foods, I got my foot in the door back in the day by first working in prepared foods and sandwich and pizza. So I actually have made hundreds, if not thousands of pizzas in my time. I don't know about thousands, but I made quite a few pizzas while I was working there I was in that department for almost a year. So I've made a lot of pizzas, and it is actually a really beautiful culinary art form, pizza making. It's, especially if you're talking about a real wood-fired oven. Unfortunately, the actual output is mostly horrible for you, but, there we go. But there are healthier alternatives for sure. When I was in New York City, I actually did eat at a vegan pizza place that had gluten-free crusts, and it was pretty amazing. And their ingredients were pretty high quality, so I didn't feel that bad afterwards. Let me go up to the top here. I think, let's see, somebody was asking about Action. Oh, Sam was asking, you were asking about Action 2.0. Yeah, so the dose is 3 to 6 capsules per day. Somewhere around maybe an hour before activity is good, but it doesn't have to be that way. But yeah, something like that. Yeah. All right. But yeah, I'm wondering, is anybody else feeling a shift? We were talking toward the beginning of the episode about there being almost like a shift recently in the energy where things have felt kind of intense and strange this last week, maybe since Monday or Sunday. Wondering if anybody else is feeling that right now. It has been interesting. Yeah, I do feel personally quite sensitive to these energetic shifts. And my other friends who are also aware of this sort of thing, a lot of the time I'll chat with them, and much of the time we do feel similar stuff around the same time. So could be, who knows? We might be confirmation bias. Yeah, who knows? But yeah. All right. Sam says, do you ever drink? Yes, I do sometimes. I do not drink beer though. No. Because I'm gluten-free. Yeah. Kenny says, I kind of feel down, but in a calm, good way mostly. Okay. Nice. Well, that's good. Yeah. I guess, it's felt like maybe there's, as we're transitioning into winter, we're becoming more yin, right? Also, I feel like, I guess we're technically still in Sagittarius season, which is a fire sign. But yeah, we are going into winter. Winter certainly is, that is absolute yin, right? And it's this downward movement. And as it cools off, right? And as it just starts, the days get shorter and shorter, and we get less and less sunlight, that tends to definitely have this kind of like settling effect, which for some people can manifest as depression, obviously. But yeah, I guess if you feel down, but in a calm way, then that's a good thing. It doesn't mean that you feel bad per se. It just means that you're kind of more yin and chill. So that's good. Hello, Senior Prepper. How you doing? Welcome. Good to see you. We were just talking about sort of an energetic shift that some of us, including myself, are feeling as of maybe the last week or so, or it just seems like things are, there's this downward movement. Some people may be feeling slightly down, but other people just feeling kind of calmer. Perhaps it's just the days getting shorter or winter approaching, who knows, but there has been a bit of a shift, it does seem recently. Sam says, I've noticed people have been more edgy, could be lack of sun maybe. I find myself needing more meditation. I bought an SAD light, seems to help. Cool, that's great. Yeah, as I mentioned before, there is some research showing that the frequency of light coming in through our eyes does have huge effects on the endocrine system and the brain. And so it would stand to reason, of course, that as the days are getting shorter and as we're probably getting outside less because it's colder, then that would have huge effects on our hormones and our state of consciousness. I've mentioned this crazy neurosurgeon before to you guys named Dr. Jack Kruse. He's an interesting fellow. He's got some YouTube lectures you can check out. He has talked about, some really interesting outside the box research that he's dug up. One of them was, I believe it was a veterinarian who did some research where he placed some like UV lenses over like different animals. I don't remember which ones, maybe cows or dogs, or they were mammals at least, obviously. And these lenses would block certain UV frequencies. And as a result of blocking certain UV frequencies, he was able to show substantial changes in things like testosterone, estrogen, sex hormones, basically. So that is fascinating. And of course, as we've talked about tons of times, you guys are always interested in the pineal gland. We do know that there is a very close connection between the eyes and the pineal gland. Pineal gland synthesizes your melatonin, right? Times your circadian rhythm. And of course, that's what binds us hormonally from a neuroendocrine perspective. What binds us to the light-dark cycle is, that connection between the eyes sensing certain frequencies of light, such as blue light, during the day, and lack of blue light at night. And it is that lack of light, that lack of blue frequencies, that then switches on melatonin production in the pineal gland. We do know also that watching television can have effects on the brain. It can put the brain into a larger density of alpha waves versus beta waves. Beta is more associated with rational processing and with open eye states. Alpha is typically less associated with open eye states, more with closed eye states, and is a little bit less rational, more emotional processing. When you do meditation, things like that, it's typically expected that the alpha will increase, and it's almost a bit more of, say, for example, like a hypnotic type state. So a long time ago, when I was considering possibly researching psychology, doing a master's in psychology and doing experimental, I was considering. I think I've mentioned this to you guys before, so pardon me if I'm repeating myself, but I have mentioned the idea that that's a connection worth exploring. The fact that watching television or perhaps any screen can have predictable effects on brainwaves, and those effects are associated with states of mind that are slightly less rational. Or perhaps if you knew this as a company doing advertising or whatever, maybe that would enable you to then know that the people watching it are slightly less amenable to rational processing of your advertisement. All right. Let's see. What else we got here? Yes, could be lack of sun, Sam. Absolutely. Kenny, yeah. So Kenny, I think you might be the first person here who's from Norway. You said there's no sunlight at all during wintertime. Oh, I didn't realize that, or if I knew, I forgot. Summertime, there's only daylight. Yeah, that's really intense, Kenny. I take it, Kenny, have you lived in Norway your whole life? Are you from Norway? Did you move there? I imagine that, it would be interesting just to see if there are studies showing differences in hormones, different hormones of people who live in places like Norway or, Antarctica or whatever, where it's only sun or only light or dark, depending on the season. I would imagine that could have huge effects on perhaps different hormones or neurotransmitters. So, yeah. Hello, Bimez. Speaking of international crowd, how's it going in Australia? Bimez, whenever I see you, I always think about all the crazy stuff I hear about going on in Australia and just how weird things are down under with respect to looming authoritarianism. Let's see. Kenny says that goes hand in hand with sunscreen. Kenny, I'm not sure which part you're talking about, but yeah, and the thing about UV radiation is, yes, UV does do damage to your eyes, to your skin cells. And of course, an excessive amount of UV, can cause, melanoma and things like that. Yes, we do know that. That's a fact. But UV is also absolutely necessary for vitamin D synthesis and for some of the effects that I mentioned on hormones. So just blocking out all UV is a horrible idea and will only lead to more and more physical health problems. So you do not want to just isolate yourself from all UV radiation. That is a horribly limited, absolutist, poisonous concept, really, because we really need UV, and of course there is this epidemic of low vitamin D. Everybody's vitamin D is low. There's other reasons for that don't have to just do with sunlight exposure, but the vitamin D thing is, everybody's got low D. So definitely that is, something that if you're not taking vitamin D, a little bit might not be a bad idea. CHOQ unfortunately doesn't have a vitamin D yet, but I'm sure we will one day. It'll probably be a vegan vitamin D since we do have a fully vegan line. Also, if you are a hardcore vegan, just know that most vitamin D, if it's vitamin D3, is not technically vegan. It depends on if you care about the sort of thing or not. But if you're a very strict vegan, your average vitamin D3 actually comes from sheep's wool. So if it's just the wool, they're just getting a haircut. It doesn't require killing the sheep. But if you do want your vitamin D to be completely, totally free of any kind of animal product, you do have to get this special expensive vitamin D3 that actually comes from some kind of lichen. Actually, it's a lichen-based D3. By the way, some of the vegan Ds out there are actually vitamin D2, also known as ergocalciferol. D3 is cholecalciferol. D2 is a precursor to D3, and so it is an inferior form because when you take D2, your body has to first convert it to D3 and then convert it to other subsequent forms of vitamin D. Thus, you do want to be a bit careful when you're buying. If you're buying a strictly vegan D, get the more expensive lichen-based D3. So make sure it says vegan D3 on it if you're one of those folks. Just a little pro tip there. By the way, vitamin D, not a vitamin at all, totally a steroid hormone, goes through tons of different transformations, goes from D1, D2, D3, 25-hydroxy-D, 125-dihydroxy-D. It transforms itself a bunch of different times. And so a lot of the research that you hear on vitamin D has been oversimplified. It doesn't take into account how many transformations it makes. So just something to put out there. Kenny says it is, so it's about midnight there, but you're worth it. Well, thanks, Kenny. That's a really nice thing to say. Very nice compliment. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, you had a connection problem, but looks like you're back. That's cool. Mohammed's asking about ester C. Yeah, Mohammed, really I won't tell any individual how much of anything to take per se. But in general, there are many different opinions, actually, I will say, on vitamin D dosing. Some folks out there are like 500 is plenty, 200 is plenty. Other folks out there who are in a different school of thought, more along the lines of Linus Pauling and orthomolecular medicine, are more about, like, for example, taking 3, 4, 5, 6 grams a day, 6,000 milligrams. So, totally up to you. But I'll just tell you, there's different schools of thought on that, different opinions. You can do your own research and see what feels right to you. Again, I'm not here to tell anybody what doses to take of anything, just also to sort of open your minds and tell you there's different perspectives, and you can kind of do your own research, trust your intuition, and see what feels right for you as an individual. So Kenny looks like, so you are from Norway. Okay. Writing sunlight studies showing, at least in Scandinavia, will lack vitamin D. Yeah, sure. Makes sense. Yeah. So somebody's asking, Danny is asking about fasting. And I'm not an expert on fasting, but what I would say is, it is a stressful thing on the body to fast. And so adaptogenic herbs such as ashwagandha, or an adaptogenic compound such as shilajit, or some of the other adaptogens that are in our other products like Action, or perhaps daily for men might not be a bad idea, because adaptogens tend to be helpful to regulate the HPA axis. It's a fancy way of saying the way that the brain connects to the adrenal glands, which is where stress hormones come from. And so, and obviously these are not sources of calories, right? So you could take an herbal extract and it's not going to knock you out of a fast because there's no real calories in it. So you can take these sort of herbs and don't have to worry about it messing up your fast. But if I were fasting, I personally don't do a lot of fasting, but if I were, I would want to have some adaptogens in my system to help my system deal with the stress of it. So that might not be a bad idea. Obviously that, and don't plan a lot. Don't have like a bunch of obligations while you're fasting, because, it's all about resting. I would want to be in a very, very quiet, chill place where I didn't have obligations or stuff to do. And I would want to probably have, just some quiet time. So just a few things that come to mind since you asked about fasting. But again, like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with it. I did the master cleanse a couple times a long time ago. I've never done a full-on water fast. I've never felt called to do that, but some people like it. I think that fasting, it seems like it does have its place, but it is extraordinarily stressful on the body. So I will tell other people on this topic, though, things like fasting, again, it's an extreme practice, and it does come with contraindications. If you're the kind of person who has a lot of stress in your life, if you're dealing with trauma and you've got a lot going on, and you're feeling like your nervous system is a little bit wonky, fasting could be the worst possible thing you could ever do, right? It depends though. It depends on your constitution, depends on what kind of stuff you have going on neurologically and psychologically. But for some people who already have an excessive amount of stress and other things like that, and perhaps are dealing with certain psychological issues, fasting could actually be highly destabilizing. And in general, it's a really important principle. Things that are more cleansing, that get toxins out of the body, right, are very helpful, and it's necessary to detoxify. But the more potent something is to detoxify you in terms of, especially in terms of like a certain kind of diet, right, where you're eating, say, for example, like 100% raw food, which can be great for healing, but it can be very destabilizing to the psyche and destabilizing to the nervous system. And so it's a bit of a trade-off. The more intense that something like that some kind of regimen is in terms of its ability to get toxins out, there is a confrontation with those toxins as they're leaving the body. And it can be very ungrounding, very destabilizing. So, with somebody with a psychic constitution, a personality constitution, where they're very air-like, this is more of an Ayurvedic concept where they're air dominant, air meaning you're very changeable, very malleable. You kind of have just like maybe a little bit of ADD, naturally. Those people will be more susceptible to being really thrown off by a fast. Whereas if you're a very grounded, very earth person, and, mentally you're just like a rock, you're going to be able to hit it harder and do some of these crazy fasts and cleanses without having to worry as much about it destabilizing your nervous system and getting negative mental type effects. So that's how I look at that personally. So everybody's different, and you have to be honest about what works for you as an individual. Senior Prepper asks, what do you think about colonics? I personally am not interested in colonics. I know there are a lot of people who are colonic enthusiasts, but it's never been my thing. Something about it, to be honest, just kind of creeps me out. Now, none of the things I said just now is remotely scientific. I must admit, I've never actually really attempted to approach the topic of colonics from an evidence-based perspective. So, perhaps there is evidence out there on a scientific level saying that colonics are beneficial for this and that. I doubt, something tells me there's not that much research on it. I have a feeling that, there's probably not a lot of money in studying colonics. So, but hey, if anybody looks into it, let me know. I am curious. But yes, they've always kind of creeped me out, to be honest. I do know some people who said they've gotten great results from it. One thing that especially creeps me out is coffee enemas, though. Coffee is a really powerful stimulant. It doesn't seem like it's a good idea to put huge amounts of caffeine directly into your bloodstream like that. Just a generally not great idea, I think personally. So, but again, I haven't researched it extensively. I'm not informed on this scientifically. This is more just my personal feelings and personal reaction to it. That's my caveat there. Also, real quick, I am noticing there's about 14 folks right here watching right now, and we've got about 6 likes in this video. If you wouldn't mind, if you are digging this, if you wouldn't mind just hitting the like button really fast. Every single one of those does help us, and it is very much appreciated. And I do see the likes already going up, so thank you for those who are who listen to that. And yeah, if you're not subscribed already, then feel free to do that as well. And all that stuff, like, subscribe, share, blah, blah, blah. Everybody on YouTube does it, and we're no exception because that's how you do it. So thanks for those guys. I did see that number go up quite a bit, so appreciate you guys hitting that button there. What else do we got here? Let's see. Oh, CHOQ Gamer says, it will say you're going live at a certain time, and all of a sudden you're alive 30 minutes prior to that. Oh, that's very strange. CHOQ Gamer, I will say a couple of times I have changed the time, and that did happen once this week. So, but that's happened very rarely. So if that's happened any more than once or twice, then that would be YouTube's fault. But every once in a while, I will need to change the time, just to accommodate things that are going on with my schedule. So that does happen sometimes. I try to do that often, though, very rarely. Why does eating fish regularly help me think clearly and optimistically? Mr. Rubinski, that's a cool question. Well, obviously, the one nutrient that really stands out when it comes to fish, depending, of course, on which kind of fish you're eating, but especially if it's one of the omega-3 rich fish, omega-3s are critical for the nervous system. The 2 kinds of omega-3s that are in fish, such as, for example, salmon and Arctic char and things like that, they're called EPA and DHA, and they are essential for the brain. There's a lot of research, substantial amount, showing benefits on mood. So for healthy moods, for mood support, mood health support, and they do actually bind to neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. They form like these complexes, and they actually help to shuttle more of them into the brain past the blood-brain barrier. They also interact with the ECS, also known as the endocannabinoid system. So if you guys don't know that term, that's a really cool, that's one to know about, endocannabinoid system. So your brain naturally makes molecules that are molecularly similar to the molecules in the cannabis plant. And that's why the cannabis plant works. That's why CBD works. That's why THC works. Because it's mimicking, this plant is mimicking compounds that our brain naturally makes. And one of the ways that omega-3s are able to support mood health is actually by decreasing the breakdown of anandamide, which is your chief endocannabinoid. Anandamide, that one right there. There is an enzyme called FAAH. It's an enzyme that breaks down anandamide, and omega-3s, such as the ones in fish, they can act on FAAH to slow it down so that it doesn't break down as much anandamide. Anandamide, very funny word. It's one of the only biochemicals made inside the human body that is named using Sanskrit. Ananda is Sanskrit for bliss, interestingly enough. And that is very strange because if you're familiar with pharmacology and physiology, you know that it's very, very rare for Sanskrit to be incorporated into an official word like that. So that's kind of cool. It always struck me as interesting. Let's see. Regarding fasting, is it really good for defeating? Oh, we don't talk about the C word, Kenny. Sorry about that. Can't talk about that one. General rule about if you work for a supplements company, the word that starts with C and rhymes with Prancer, we don't talk about that at all under any circumstances, really. So yeah, can't do that. We're talking about making a supplement for eye health. Glow 120. No, eye health is honestly not something that's at all on our radar. Perhaps one day, but honestly, I would not hold your breath on that one. CHOQ, we do a little bit more lifestyle type stuff. Eventually, way down the line probably, but there's at least a dozen other supplements we'd probably make before we did an eye health one, to be frank, just since you asked. Kenny says, I roasted CHOQ's cacao beans and made myself and my kid a really good fresh cacao this morning instead of coffee. Very cool. Nice. That's awesome, Kenny. Good for you. Yeah. I made this really crazy smoothie again today that I made yesterday, and I call it a smoothie, but it's really almost like my own version of hot chocolate. It wasn't really hot so much as warm, but it was lots of chopped cacao beans, however much you want to put in there. I put almost too many because it was a bit too strong, but chopped cacao beans, dates, water, obviously, honey, and a bunch of different herbs and mushroom powders like chaga, reishi, lion's mane, cordyceps, and then also some avena sativa, also known as wild oats. Wild oats flavor profile goes incredibly well with cacao. So avena sativa and cacao, awesome combination, both flavor-wise and effect-wise, because they both are highly dopaminergic. They work on the dopamine system. All right. Any natural supplements? Senior Prepper is asking about smoking cessation. I would just say, in general, you'd really want to focus on two things. You want to focus on detoxification, just helping the body get the junk out, right? And something like an N-acetylcysteine or something like that might not be a bad idea. Something that boosts glutathione, very important. And then mood support, anything that supports mood. So any kind of herbal adaptogen, 5-HTP, B complex, magnesium, stuff like that. So just be thinking about really mood and detoxification. Those two things are pretty important for that purpose. Yeah. There is I can endorse other brands, but I did find one time there was a stop smoking product that was made by a company I can't mention, unfortunately, because it's not my policy to talk about other brands specifically. But yeah, that is a thing. And the product, had a similar concept. It was focusing on detox and on mood support. Yeah. I've also heard this trick from Anthony William, medical medium, where for quitting smoking, people will, he'll have somebody actually keep a chocolate bar on hand, and every time they want a cigarette, just eat one square of chocolate instead. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe you could try that with chopped cacao beans. Of course, the beans are not sweetened, so you'll have to add something sweet if you don't like bitter. But that's one good way to do it. I mean, if you're going to be addicted to something, I guess chocolate addiction is not as bad as tobacco, clearly. But hopefully it's a temporary thing. But for a little while, if you need to, I've heard that can be helpful. Again, just every time that person wants a cigarette, have them break off a square of chocolate and eat that instead. Yeah. And the funny thing about chocolate is, even though it's highly caloric and it's got a lot of fat in it, which, can be problematic, right? Not good to eat too much fat, obviously. But the funny thing about chocolate is it's also an appetite suppressant. So you're going to eat less other stuff if you do eat some chocolate. And I'm not encouraging people to overeat chocolate. That's not a good idea. It is a psychostimulant, and you don't necessarily want to just be eating ridiculous amounts of chocolate to where you can't sleep and things like that. But chocolate certainly, interestingly enough, even though it tends to be very fatty and highly caloric, it's also an appetite suppressant. So it tends to not be as associated with weight gain as perhaps other equally calorically dense foods. Yes. All right. Someone's mentioning mullein leaf. Yes, mullein, excellent for the lungs. Also great for the immune system. Mulleine's a great one. Absolutely. I do recommend mullein if you're going to do it in a tincture form. Like all the tinctures, do an alcohol-free tincture. The alcohol tinctures they're kind of rough on the system, and they're just not as pleasant. So I like to do mullein actually, just for general immune support. I do mullein fairly frequently actually, and I do an alcohol-free mullein tincture. Let's see. Kenny says, do you take your beans raw or roast them in smoothie? I've never actually roasted the beans, Kenny. I just use them kind of raw as is. But if I put them in a smoothie, obviously I have sweet things in the smoothie like dates and or honey or bananas or whatever. Sometimes I'll eat them straight, but I will put a little bit of honey in my mouth with the beans as I chew on them. Yeah. All right, let's see what else. Exercise and breath work. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they say also part of smoking is this sort of breath control, right? Because it's a ritualized breath work in a sense, right? Because you're breathing in, you're breathing out, you're doing it in a controlled fashion. And of course you're breathing smoke in, but still it counts as breathing. It is a conscious rhythmic control of breathing. And so it would stand to reason, of course, that doing some kind of breath work could be really helpful, and of course, anything that brings your attention to your lungs, if you're trying to heal your lungs, makes a lot of sense. There's a really cool Qigong meditation I did a long time ago. I haven't done this for a long time. It's called like the 5-colored light meditation or something like that. And what you do is the 5 different major organs, the 5 yin organs in Chinese medicine. Each one, you'll breathe a certain kind of light. You visualize the light going into that organ as you breathe in, and then you visualize the light leaving as you breathe out, and you visualize it being kind of cloudy, like it's taking gunk out or whatever. And so the lungs are the color of white in Chinese medicine. They are the metal element. And so for the lungs, what you would do is you would just imagine as you breathe in, your lungs being filled with white light. And as you breathe out, you imagine just kind of the white light leaving and being kind of darker and tainted and taking the dirty energy out. But yeah, if you go to YouTube, I don't know, but you could type in Qigong 5-colored light meditation, something like that, and perhaps you'd find it. The guy who, what was that guy's name? The guy who did it was like Ken Cohen, maybe? Ken Cohen. Look up Ken Cohen Qigong if you want to check it out. I think his name was Ken Cohen. And he's got some cool CDs CDs, obviously not anymore, but MP3s you can download or whatever. But yeah, that's a cool one. And some of those Qigong exercises are really powerful, really powerful. So if you guys haven't ever done any Qigong, I highly recommend it. I had to do an extensive amount when I studied Chinese medicine. I also had to do some Tai Chi, but I ended up logging many hours of Qigong. As sort of an elective, I picked a lot of extra Qigong too. So in addition to the required Qigong, I did a lot more. What I will say is after you have logged a certain number of hours of Qigong, what happens is it changes your nervous system permanently. This is my belief. I didn't necessarily read this from someone, but I believe this. It teaches you how to move your body in a very, very slow and gentle and consistent way. If you tell the average person, I want you to move your arm, your hand, very slowly and consistently without accelerating or decelerating it, that what they'll do is they'll end up sort of doing this, and it'll be jerky. And that's what all of us, when we did Qigong at first, we would sort of it would look jerky, and your mind is really sped up, and you want to get there now, and so it's hard to move slowly. And over time, as you continue to do these rhythmic movements, it becomes totally natural to just flow very gently. And now that I have logged that many hours, even though I haven't done formal Qigong in a class in many years, I can access that state anytime I want because I built a neural pathway that allows me to do that. It's the same thing with maybe a certain kind of dancing or something, salsa dancing or martial arts or whatever, right? It just gets burned into your brain permanently. And there is something about moving your body in a slow, deliberate, rhythmic fashion where once you do that, it's like the rest of your brain. So like the motor cortex in your brain that's responsible for operating your muscles, and moving the body. it's like the motor cortex, the neurons in the motor cortex are firing at a very consistent rate, you know, and it's almost as if the rest of the brain is entrained based on that. Like the motor cortex, if you could visualize the neurons in the motor cortex, they're firing at a very, very consistent, smooth frequency as a result of this smooth movement. And like the rest of the brain just all of a sudden becomes smoother. And it can be challenging at first. And sometimes when people first do Qigong, they actually hate it. I remember a lot of the people were just like upset that they had to do this boring thing over and over and over again. And they hated it. But eventually, most people would get to the point where they're like, wow, I love what this does for me. It's just fantastic. So anyway, that's a cool note to end on. Perhaps, because we are at the 45-minute mark, perhaps it is time to do our prize number 2, by the way, for those of y'all. Senior Prepper, I hope I can find classes online. Yeah, you totally should. Senior Prepper, let's talk about that on another episode or perhaps through another channel. But yeah, so by the way, y'all, I did give the first prize away within about 2 minutes of the episode, and I am increasingly trying to give prize number 1 away very early to reward people for showing up right off the bat. And so I actually did prize number 1 when there were only like 4 people here. But yeah, I am going to start the countdown right now. So go ahead and get your number in. For those of y'all who are new, we give away prizes according to a system whereby I generate a random number, and everyone gives me 1 2-digit number, anything between 1 and 100. The timer is going, so get your number in the next 42 seconds or else it will not count. And whoever is closest to the randomly generated number will win. So yes, you have 33 seconds left. And sometimes people do get their number in right after I hit done. And unfortunately, them's the rules. So yes, that is just that's how it works. All right. All right, almost done. And that's it. Okay. So if you got it in after I hit done, unfortunately, your number will not be counted. Our number today was 47. Rafatul has 49. Rafatul, are you the winner? Let's see. Who else is here? I don't see anyone. Oh, wait. Bob Smith got 47 right on the nose. Good job, Bob Smith. Congratulations. So, Bob Smith, you are winner of prize number 2. Bob Smith, I don't recognize your name, so perhaps you are new, or perhaps you just have a different name than you used to, because I know some people change their names. But Mr. Smith, congratulations on winning prize number 2. Prize number 2 is a bag of organic heirloom cacao beans, as well as one of these beautiful American-made organic cotton CHOQ t-shirts. Log on to CHOQ.com, check out the shirt page, the shirt product page, and figure out which style and size and color you want, and then email CHOQ@CHOQ.com and tell them you won prize number 2. And yeah, that is the deal. And I will, before I forget, I'll have to tell our customer service team who won. So let's see. I forgot who won prize number 1. I have to go back. Who was our winner for prize number 1 again? Let me just scroll back up here. It was, let's see. Hard to keep track. Does anybody remember? Do you guys remember who won prize number 1? I didn't used to tell the customer service team, but now I'm telling them. Winners for today. Number 1 was Sam, right? Is that correct? Okay, right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. That way I don't have to go back. And number 2 was Bob Smith. Cool. All right. Awesome. These shirts are great, by the way. Obviously, it'd be great if you did wear it outside of the house to help us advertise. But if you just wear it, around the house or when you go to sleep, yeah, it's really cool. Actually, it's a great shirt. This is the brown one. We have a gold one as well, and they're just really comfortable. I do like to sleep in mine, and a lot of people like to use them just kind of at bedtime. So, thanks, Senior Prepper. Glad you like the shirt there. Awesome. Well, okay. So tomorrow we will be doing double prize day. So as has been the new tradition recently, it's going to be an extra long episode. So bring all your questions tomorrow. Yeah, good luck to everybody. But yes, we will be giving away twice the prizes tomorrow night. And yeah, right around 5:30, I believe it is already scheduled. Let me just double check the time. Let's see. I'm going to look at my calendar here. So tomorrow will be 5:30 p.m. Central, and it'll be going a little bit longer. So hour and a half, because it's Friday night. So we get extra crunk on Fridays. And yeah, so join us tomorrow at 5:30 Central. And if you haven't had a chance yet to hit the like button, in case you still haven't, go ahead and hit that before you leave. That would be awesome. And much love, guys. Thanks to all you guys for making this always so much fun and so awesome, and for all your great questions. Much love, and I will see you tomorrow. And of course, stay human.